Hiya. It's 9 p.m. in the evening, and for some reason, I've suddenly been struck by inspiration. So at the moment, I'm in Central Europe. I came traveling here about a year ago, and I'm still here now. So I thought this would be the perfect time to have a write with me session. So I think for these sessions, anyone who's interested in writing along or who needs inspiration for writing can come along, join the session, and write for the duration of the session as well. So I wouldn't always see all the comments because my camera is sort of facing the table, and I'll just try and take a glance once in a while. Oh, hello. Hiya. Someone just said a hello. Miss Nari. So I wanted to write a short story about an urban legend. This is an urban legend we have in Nigeria. We have quite a lot of superstitions there, but this is one of the really, I would say, scary ones that happened in my childhood. And I want to write it as a short story and then possibly make it into a video or make it into a series of books that will be, I can put into short stories that, sort of inspired my childhood. So a lot of these stories did happen, which I think is what makes them quite strange, quite odd, and rather peculiar as well. Now, when I tell friends that this is what it was like, because we're very superstitious people, they think I'm joking or they think I'm being facetious because no one really understands how superstitious West Africa is, but it is extremely superstitious, and a lot of our stories are very dark. So this one is the legend of the bush baby. So I would say to anyone who wants to write as well, please, because I know with writing, sometimes you do want to get motivated and it's extremely difficult to find the motivation. So if you want to work on something whilst I'm writing, please go ahead. You're very welcome to do that, or you can watch me write. Obviously, as I think quite a few people know, I prefer to write by hand first. It's something I've always had and I've always preferred. A lot of people find it quite strange. I prefer to write by hand. Sometimes I use lots of pens. I have a collection of, actually let me show you my pen collection because I do get quite excited by that. I've got that one, that one, I've got all these, but I've actually got quite a few more, but I've just got pens all over the place, but I absolutely love it because I can just pick whatever I want. Today I'm just going to use an old Pilot pen because I'm running out of ink and I need to find a good ink supplier because I kept getting my inks from a stationery shop when I was in London, but I'm slowly running out of ink and running out of options, so I have to find ink here, but I just don't know where to go yet. And the only shops the shops I've found that have ink, they have quite specialized ink. It's very fancy ink, and it's not something you want to waste. So the ink I would normally use would be, the ink bottles, like these bottled inks. But at the moment, I don't really know if I can get any more, and I don't want to have to stop using my ink. So, yeah. Okay. So, oh yeah, nice to see you, Frames to Mind. And yes, Ms. Nari, I know the US has a lot of urban myths as well. I think particularly the south of the country is very, very, there are all those old superstitions as well. I know my friends who are from sort of New York and Los Angeles don't believe in all that stuff and all that juju, but I know in the south it's very, very prevalent, and there's a lot of superstition as well, which I think is even better for writing, because you have all these stories that you grew up with. Okay, so I'm working on a story, The Bush Baby. Now, the Bush Baby story is something that is actually, I was going to say real, but it can't be real because there's no real evidence that bush babies exist. However, these were stories that we were told as children, sort of in Nigeria, to stop us being naughty, to stop us misbehaving, and just to put our behavior in check. So the bush baby is the equivalent of the boogeyman, I believe. I think the boogeyman is more of a Western culture thing, whilst the bush baby is more of a I think the bush baby sounds much worse than the boogeyman. The boogeyman is a man, the bush baby is a baby. I think creepy babies, in my opinion, are much worse. So I was going to write a short story about it from my point of view. And obviously you're welcome to join me and write along. I will try and answer questions as they come along, but obviously I have no access to my screen. I can sort of see my screen, but not very well because I just do everything by phone. I don't actually have a dedicated camera. Yeah, okay. So people sometimes ask where the inspiration for the stories come from. Oh, and I will say they just come when they come. There is no planning, there is no plotting, there is no, like I've suddenly been struck to write now. I don't normally write this late. I actually prefer to write in the mornings, but at the moment my brain is. I think I feel very relaxed, so I'm more likely to sort of put pen to paper right now. And we're approaching a long weekend as well, so that's even more promising. So I think the end of the week is approaching, and it's it brings more promise. Okay. So I'm sort of just writing. Sorry to interject again. I'm sort of just writing, so it's just a rough draft of what I'm thinking at the moment. And what I do is I just write, get all the ideas down. So I call it a word dump. I just dump all the ideas down on paper. And then I sort of think about it much later about what I'm going to do and what I'm going to do with it. And is it going to go in a book, or is it going to inspire a scene in a book, or is it going to maybe go in one of my videos, or is it going to become a story of its own where I create this whole world around it? I don't know yet, but I'm just putting down what my what happened with the story when I was a child and what we were always told these creatures represented. And also, if you have creatures like the bush babies I know like everyone's from a different part of the world, but if you have creatures like the bush babies, I'd be interested to hear about them. Because bush babies are like, they are creatures, they sound like actual babies. So the whole beauty of it is no one can resist the cry of a baby. People always come running. If a baby's cry persists, they come running, they come looking around. And, you know, ultimately people are also led out of their homes by the cries. And obviously, sometimes, you know, the whole point in West Africa is, or in Nigeria is, when you go into your home, you're safe. You know, the home is a sanctuary, and then nothing will get you out of your house. But if you hear a baby crying, then that will get you out of your house very quickly. So that's the whole idea around bush babies and where they've come from and how sneaky they can be. But apparently when you actually emerge and go to find the baby, you disappear or you're killed. So it's a very interesting, well, it's terrifying. And this was a story I was told by my nanny as a child. Oh, pretty handwriting doesn't matter at all. I think if you're going to write by hand, I write by hand because oof, I just connect to the paper more, I connect to the story more, so I find it a lot easier to write by hand. So I just prefer it. And it's something I've always done, and then I transcribe it to computer. But hang on one second. I'm trying to do something. Yes. But I think that everyone should do what they're comfortable with. I prefer writing by hand because, like I've explained, I have an obsession with pens. I love my nibs. I just have this strange obsession with nibs. I love my inks. I love my inkwells. It just makes me feel cozy. I like my little candles as well. You know, but everyone has their own vibe and their own aesthetic, and I just prefer. I've always written by hand, and I think it's something I'm so used to now. I don't know how to do it any other way. And if I stare at my laptop and I've got the keyboard in front of me and I stare at it, sometimes nothing comes to mind. I can sit there for hours and nothing will happen. So for me, it's actually more efficient to write by hand and then transcribe it to computer. And obviously with the voice dictation readily available with Microsoft Word and most applications now, you can actually just dictate it. Obviously there'll be words they miss, especially if you use certain words that are not part of the English language, and that's perfectly fine. But this just works better for me. And I think write by hand, it doesn't matter if you have nice writing or not. I think we all have very different types of writing. But I think writing by hand is just more freeing and more therapeutic for me. So I don't generally worry about too many about all the punctuation and is this perfect, is that perfect. What I just do is a word dump. I call it a word dump, but it's just I call it a word dump. Sometimes my editor calls it word vomit. It's just putting everything down on paper and just getting everything out, all the ideas out, because sometimes if you don't write it down or if you don't put the ideas down, they very quickly disappear, and that can be quite devastating. The number of times I've gone to bed with a fantastic idea, and then I've woken up the next morning thinking, okay, yeah, I can't remember what the idea was, is absolutely frightening. These ideas just seem to disappear, and you just never seem to remember what the fantastic idea was. So I just tend to say, if you get an idea, any inspiration, a character inspiration, whatever, write it down. Just put something down on paper, in your notepad, even in your phone. But make sure you have access to it, and you remember you have one storage space so you can just go. So I always used to write everything on paper, and if you look around my desk, there's just paper everywhere. I'd write everything on paper, and as a kid, and I always stored it all in a box as a kid, and then obviously as I got older and I had my own dedicated writing spaces, things changed slightly. But like these are all notes I've written when I've just sort of been teaching or whatever, and like the ideas just keep coming, they never actually stop coming. So it's always a good idea to have somewhere you can just put everything down, you know. And sometimes my hand starts to cramp. I've hit a wall. More persistent and okay, more persistent and shrill. And the minutes got longer. But there was nothing. So cramp does happen, unfortunately. But it's completely worth it. So let me know if you like the write with me sessions, because I can do more of them because I write every single day. So if you want to be motivated to do your own writing, to do your own work, to do your own artwork, whatever you want to do, we can just schedule an hour to just do the work, and that's completely fine. And I'll do my work and you do your work and we can work in complete silence. I've been trying to find a way of incorporating music into the lives, and I tried it the first time, but I had a copyright issue the first time I tried it. So the copyright on YouTube is a very, very serious thing, and obviously I don't want to have copyright issues, especially using someone's music without their permission. So I am trying to find a way around it, because I think sometimes I do like a bit of background music when I'm writing. It does help to set the mood. But luckily, my flat and my setup is extremely quiet. There's never any noise whatsoever. So it's brilliant, and it's very, you can become very immersed in the work and immersed in the writing as well. So I am getting to the end of the story. I've written about 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm going to end on 6 pages. So I've got 5, and then 6 on the other side. So this is not like a full. This is not like a full A4 sheet like I've got here. This is a full A4 sheet, but and if you know, because there's quite huge differences in the writing. I don't see if you can see. This is how I write in the morning, and then in the evenings I'm a bit more relaxed and my writing's a bit more shoddy, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. That's how I tend to write in the daytime when it's light, and it's very it looks very neat actually, which is quite scary. But this is how I write when I'm tired. But I use it as a word dump, like I said, just to get all my ideas down on paper. Oh, I can also cover sessions where I talk about myths and legends from where I grew up as a kid, because there's so many myths and legends. It's it's fascinating, but at the same time, it's also terrifying that we're such a superstitious people. And you can tell I start to get tired, because I start to make little errors. But sometimes, I think it depends on the person. Sometimes you have to get the work done in the evening, especially if you work, It's really hard to start the morning off by writing if you're trying to get to work. So, yeah. I just misspelled definitely. Okay, I think that has been amazingly good. So I've managed to write in just under an hour, because I spent about 15 minutes babbling. I've managed to write, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. I'm not really sure how many lines, how many words. Okay, let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So let's say it's an average of, it averages out to about 10 words per line. Ignore that. It's about 220 words per page. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So off the top of my head, that would be, my mathematics is really bad now. That will be over 1,000 words, definitely. That'll be over 1,000 words. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. So, in these writing sessions, if you, 700 words, that's amazing. But I think I write pretty fast as well. I don't know if anyone else is handwriting or if you are just writing, typing onto a keyboard. But it's just a good idea to get all your ideas down, no matter how silly you may think they are. Everyone thinks that their ideas for a story or a book are completely ridiculous, and then you find out that, I think most authors who've ever written a book have always thought, they had silly ideas, but they've had some amazingly fantastic ideas. So I would say write everything down. So even if you missed the lots of backspace. That's funny. I didn't get the chance to backspace. Even if you miss the live, you can still replay it, and you can just use the time to write along, get all your ideas down, and write that book if you wanted to write a fantasy story, the autobiography, the poems, whatever you want to write, whatever you want to work on, whatever you want to be creative with. So I'm going to do another one tomorrow evening. So it's going to be 10 o'clock. No, it's going to be 9 p.m. Central European time. I don't know what that is. So I'm in Budapest at the moment, so it's going to be 10 p.m. 9 p.m. Budapest time. And then the clocks are going to change even more. The clocks are going to change again at the end of March, which is absolutely brilliant because I think it's going to summertime now from winter time. So I never know what direction the clocks are going in. I should know this because I'm here right now, but I just never know. I'm not really good with paying attention. So if you've missed the live, you can just replay it and write along. So Miss Nari managed to do about 700 words. I did over 1,000. Maybe 1,200, I would say this is. So I'm really, really happy about it because it means that this does work. But I think you do have to have the motivation to sit down and just write it, because if you keep putting it off, you're actually never going to get it done. And that's how I got a lot of my books finished. Just by sitting down and writing in silence, undisturbed. And also let me know, I know that I did speak, there were lots of moments of silence, and I don't know if people prefer it if I pause to speak a bit, or if you just prefer me to shut up for an hour and we just write, and I speak at the beginning, and then I speak at the end. So let me know in the comments as well, because that'd be really, really helpful. That's really good feedback. This is only my third live. The first live was a test to see how the live worked. The second live was me just doing some world building sketches. And this is the first write with me. But I think the write with me I'm going to try and do every day at least, especially since the seasons are changing and there's lots of motivation and inspiration at the moment. So, Fantastic. I will see you all tomorrow. So it'll be about 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Central European time, because I'm in Budapest at the moment, which is a very dark and inspirational city as well, because it's very dark and moody, and Hungarians are quite moody people. But yes, fantastic. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Good night.